We do this every month. Every month we come on here and we're like, how do we podcast? We're gonna hit 3 years this year.
I was trying something different because we release on Sunday, so I was trying something different, but then the y'all just happy Sunday, y'all. Why did I sound like that? Anyways.
Again.
All right. Welcome to Book Club. This month in January, we started our Read Around the World Challenge. So we read The Women, which is set, half of it is set in Vietnam. And I picked it. Jill is my pick this month. I really enjoyed the book overall. So the first thing that I wanted to talk about was Miranda made a comment on Fable, which if you're not with us on Fable, you should be. She made a comment. She said, you said that you were surprised, that she was surprised at her parents' reaction to her joining the military.
Yeah. Are you asking me why I said that?
You can expound.
Just the time period and what was expected of women. I don't understand why she thought her dad was going to be proud of her. Like, she even talks about how on the
War of Heroes.
Hero wall, like, all of the men are in their military fatigues, and all of the women, it's their wedding photos. Like, that's what they're proud of. And she was like, yeah, my dad's going to be proud of me going to war. Like, staring at the evidence that he will not be proud.
Yeah.
Like, so I was like, why are you surprised that your dad is not happy about this? And they just, like, the night she tells them, they find out that her brother died. Like, they're not going to be excited about you going to the same place that he just died.
Was it the exact same night? Like, I know she told them before they found out Finley was dead.
I think she told them, and, like, as she was telling them, the two soldiers came and knocked on their door.
I couldn't remember.
I think that's right.
I thought it had been at least, like, a day, but...
Yeah, but, like, she was staring at the evidence that her dad was not going to be happy. And she's like, why aren't you happy?
Well, and almost just the fact that, like, she didn't even know, like, Riot, like, he was the one who even presented her with the idea that, like, women could join the military, could be heroes or whatever. Yeah. And so the fact that he was the one who had to point that out, and it wasn't her dad that raised her to think that,
should have been enough to tell her. Yeah.
Maybe she just didn't expect, like, the amount of, like, animosity about it. Yeah.
Yeah.
I also thought it was funny that she went to enlist and people were like, no.
Yeah.
The Navy, what? Yeah, the Navy was like, you need more experience. But good old Army, they'll take anything. They were really that way.
It's just their standard.
They're like, oh, you want to go to war? Great. We need people.
We just need a person to stand here.
And then I thought it was so weird, like, the uniform that they sent her over in. Like, she's in,
like, pantyhose and...
Yeah, and didn't she even have, like, a corset or something? Like, what did she have underneath it?
Oh, it was like a girdle that holds her stockings up, because she couldn't wear pantyhose. She had to wear, like, thigh-high stockings, so she needed a girdle to hold the stockings up.
I'm like, that made a lot of sense for the Army to do that.
They don't care.
And I love that her mom made her pack a dress in case she had a party.
Not even a dress, but, like, the most old-fashioned dress that her, like, a Peter Pan collar is what I think she said. Like, it had, like, I'm just imagining, like, I Love Lucy in, like, I don't know, a house coat. Like, that's what I'm imagining.
I imagine, I don't know if it said this or not, but I imagine like this like baby blue with like white polka dots.
I think that's what it said. It might not have been polka dots, but for sure I think it said baby blue.
I'm like, I don't know.
She did go to parties.
She
She went
did,
to
but
lots of parties.
she didn't get dressed up for them, I don't think.
No.
She wore the dress one time. What did she wear it to?
No, I think she wore a dress. I don't know that she wore that dress. And she bought a dress when they were visiting Saigon, but she bought like more of a traditional dress rather than
Like a dinner party dress.
yeah.
Like the expectations of her parents being proud of her, and but then also like her expectations of like being with her brother. Like she was so excited to be able to go to Vietnam and like see him, even like obviously before she found out he had died. But I just didn't. It didn't make sense to me, and of course she's 21 and not experienced, but it didn't make sense to me how she thought my brother's in the Navy on a carrier ship. And if
Was he on a ship though?
I thought that's what he said, that he, because he like was flying. I thought he was flying stuff off this ship.
Oh, I don't know. I thought the Navy guys they had just like a post on land, and it was mostly like airplanes and less boats. I don't know.
No.
But she did have a lot of interactions with the Navy guys, the officers. She did have a lot of interactions with them. Like Riot was in the Navy.
But he wasn't at her post. He would just fly in.
Which I thought was crazy.
Just like whenever, like she calls him, she's like, "There was a bombing," and he like shows up 4 hours later.
Right, wasn't there on the ground with her. He would just come in to land.
Yeah,
because apparently pilots can just fly,
just do whatever they want. Coyote would just show up and be like, "We're going to a party."
Helicopter for 2 hours. My girlfriend's a little sad right now.
I gotta go.
My girlfriend's at war and she's having a hard day. Can I just borrow your helicopter?
Also, spend a night.
She was saying that when she was talking to the Army recruiter, that they told her that she would be able to see Finley. Like they told her that.
Well, yeah, but they wouldn't have just told her that. She probably was like, "Yeah, I'm hoping to see him," and they were probably like, "Yeah, you'll definitely see him."
Sign here.
No, I just that she thought that like at him being Navy and her being Army, that they would magically be in the same place.
I just don't understand like what her thought of how the military worked beforehand, or like I guess I don't know how other people think it works, but in my mind, like I know that there's bases, and so I know that just because you're in the military, you're not going to be
at the same post.
Like even if you're in the same state, like you're not going to be. There's no guarantee you're in the same spot, but maybe just to her, she was like, Vietnam military. My brother's there. We're both in Vietnam, so obviously we'll see each other.
Right. I mean, Vietnam's not a big place.
Yeah, but there were still different places to get stationed. Like she got moved around and.
Well, also she was at a hospital, and so like people were coming no matter what service they were in, no matter like if they were Vietnamese or so like they were just taking whoever needed medical assistance. It wasn't like they only had Army people coming in to her hospital.
I guess because she did have Jamie at one point, and Jamie was Army.
He was stationed there at the hospital. I don't know that he was Army, but he was stationed at the hospital because she would like do surgeries with him and stuff.
Yeah, he was the doctor that she worked with. Oh. But I just thought like her expectations before getting in there were kind of extreme. She was and I actually just took a class at the hospital about like mentoring people, and it said that one of the phases that people often go through when like entering the medical field is like a shock phase. So there's like first like a honeymoon phase where they have this idea of what their career is going to be, and that's why they went into it. And then when they get into it, there's a shock phase of like, oh, this was not what I expected, until they get to like an adapted phase, which I feel like she very much went through that whole cycle.
Mm-hmm.
Because, you know, obviously she had expectations going over there, and then day one she was like, Mascal is like coming in and she's like, what am I doing? And then it's so sad that she just goes behind the curtain and is like holding people's hands while they die.
Yeah. Like,
she's like, I'm pretty useless, so I guess I just won't let you be alone. Like,
was that her first day? Was that her first day that she did that?
Talks about
yeah,
it.
because
Like,
I think she was she like Frozen was kind of in the way, and so they were like, go in the corner over there.
yeah.
They were like, this is the pile of people we've decided we can't save, so just sit here.
Yeah.
I mean, they probably understand though, like, I don't know why they thought they could just throw her in and she would like hop too, because I imagine everybody does that. Because even later on in the book, when she got a new girl after what's her name, Ethel leaves, like after she leaves and they get a new girl, the new girl does the exact same thing that she did when she got there. So I imagine it's a pretty normal expectation for people to be like, even the new doctor, when they got a new doctor after Jamie died, he was even like that, and she had to be like, we got stuff to do.
And I thought it was interesting. So like, when they're all like back stateside, Barb and Ethel don't seem to be as affected as Frankie was. Did you guys? I know at one time they have a conversation like after Frankie got out of this.
I think Barb came in, talked to her when she was like,
she visited
in the hospital, yeah, or in the rehab place.
Yeah, like, this is hard for me too, but I still don't think it seems.
Well,
I mean, to be fair, we were seeing the whole book from Frankie's point of view.
Yeah.
But like, Frankie got let go from her job like a couple times, and Barb like came back and joined that organization, and Ethel came back and did her veterinary degree.
But Barb came back to a community where more than half the people had been in the war. Like, her street, she said, was just everybody had gone to Vietnam. And so there was more acceptance towards the people coming back, whereas Frankie comes back and people are spitting on her, and her parents are upset with her, and she finds out that they lied about where she was. And like, Ethel came back and had a purpose, and I mean, we don't know how her family reacted, but she went back to a farm and not the city.
Yeah.
And not people who just, like, the higher class people who wanted her just to become who she was before she left. So I think a lot of it is what Frankie went back to.
Yeah. I was thinking because she also went back but stayed in nursing.
Yeah.
Like, Barb didn't do anything like nursing related. She was like rioting and protesting and stuff. And then Ethel did the veterinary stuff.
Yeah.
And know if like the fact that she was in similar situations, you know, similar smells and things that could trigger the memories more, that had like an effect, a bigger effect. Like, if she had come home and been like, I'm done with nursing, I can't do nursing anymore, maybe, like, I wonder if it would have been a little bit easier.
Yeah. Maybe, but I also think that like the fact that she tried to like explain her experience and nobody wanted to hear it.
Right.
Like
Yeah.
she was trying to do it. To do what you needed to do to get over the trauma that you were experiencing. Not over, but like
past.
Yeah, but nobody was allowing her the opportunity to talk about it. Even when she went to try and go to the VA and get help from the people who are supposed to help veterans, they're like, there are no women in Vietnam, and apparently nurses don't count.
Right.
So,
they were like, no, these men have seen combat. I'm like, there are people trying to bomb the hospital. Like, she was having reactions to the fireworks on the 4th of July where she was like, take cover or whatever she was yelling. So,
yeah. Well, and she was seeing people with blown up bodies and like she might not have seen it happen, but she saw the aftermath of it. She experienced napalm, like the whole thing. So that really kind of was like, I
mean, I guess understand the second time that she tried going, that he was like, well, these men aren't going to open up in front of a woman. Like, I can kind of understand that because it was still I don't even know, 1960s, right? And so
something like that.
The men weren't supposed to be vulnerable. Like, they didn't want a woman to see that side of them. So, I mean, I could kind of understand that point, but to just be like, oh, women don't need help after coming back from Vietnam at all, like, I didn't understand that at all. Like,
well, and especially like when she started her whole like farm in Montana, and all of these women were coming through and had the exact same experience. You would think that if you were working at a VA hospital, and even if you catered to the soldiers who were coming through, if you are constantly having, maybe not constantly, but at least consistently, more than one time, having these women come and ask for help, like maybe you should be like, I wonder if maybe this is a portion that we should offer to the women. Like
maybe we have a group specifically for women. If the women can't be there with the men, then
have something.
Like if they have more women who are asking for help and they're not able to help them, maybe they should figure out how they should help them. That makes sense to me. But let's go back in time, guys. It's time travel.
Let's go fix
it.
Just the three of us will fix everything if we time travel.
I mean, if we're time traveling, probably they'll listen. Or throw us in jail.
Somebody just shows up and they're like, I'm from the future. And everybody's like, love it. What do we need to do?
I'm like, look at my phone. See how it works?
Okay.
Oh my gosh.
So the other thing I want to talk about was when Rai showed up in Hawaii.
Look.
I thought it was kind of funny, especially now that we know like the whole story, that he was like, yeah, I'm not engaged anymore, and they're like having this relationship, and then she's like, I re-enlisted for another year, and he's like, what? He was like, this was supposed to be a fling, and now I guess I'm
I mean, if he didn't re-enlist, like he didn't have to re-enlist, he could have gone home. I feel like that would have been more understandable if he had gone home.
Didn't he already tell her before she enlisted that he loved her?
He never says that he loves her.
Oh,
I would like to
he says, I'm going to die loving you. Or whatever.
Yeah. Because at the end of the book, her like therapist asks her, he's like, when did he say I love you? And she's like, he didn't. So
of it.
Which is curious because even like they were having this whole affair and he never one time said I love you. Yeah, he like proposed. I think he proposed because she was like, I don't want to be your girlfriend, your little dirty secret anymore. And he's like, oh, let's get married. I don't think he was like planning on proposing just then.
Yeah.
Because I don't even think she had a ring.
No, because she was looking at him by herself. And she was like, is this weird? It's not weird.
Is this weird that I'm looking at engagement rings with my partner who's already married? No, that's
I feel like that should be like your biggest red flag.
I feel like she had all the okay. So what I wrote down were what were your feelings when Rye showed up in Hawaii before you knew the whole story. Miranda's were
I never trusted Rye from the beginning. I was like, he's lying the entire time. And even when she was like, he's dead, I was like, he's not dead. He's gonna show up.
Not lying. He's not.
And then he came back and he's like, oh yeah, I'm gonna leave my wife. No, you're not. Stop. Go away.
It was like all the signs of every.
She at one point says, I wrote it down. Hold on. Pause.
Kellye, what were your feelings on Rye when he showed up in Hawaii?
I don't know. I thought it was a little weird that like I think part of me thought it was sweet that he had like forced her to do this R&R. But a little weird that he was like taking it with her. Like he's like anyways. Again, how much power do we think the people in the army actually like this is the military, guys. Like
well, so the thing was, the reason she had to take it was because she had been there a whole year and hadn't taken her R&R. And she was she was re-enlisting. So I think all he had to do was make it aware to make somebody aware of the fact that she hadn't done her R&R yet and they were going to tell her to do it.
Yeah, well, I mean, the head nurse or whoever, she was like, I've seen people like die because they refused to take a break. So
right. So all he had to do, that wasn't like him being powerful. All he had to do was get the information to the right person.
Well, no, I mean, he thinks like he's all powerful because he can show up in Hawaii. Like he can. Like, how does that work out?
And he took his R&R too.
I guess if he was at the end of his tour and he could re-enlist, he could probably take an R&R also. But
I think they send everybody to the same place because Jamie also went there.
Yeah,
with his wife.
But
yeah, but I did when he told her that I'm not engaged. I was like,
yeah.
That seems very well like
worded
around the point. Yeah,
that was worded very specifically.
Mm-hmm.
I guess he was not engaged.
Yeah, he had a wife and a child.
So he's not a liar. He wasn't engaged.
Anyways, at one point she says loving Rye had transformed her into a liar. Both times I feel like it transforms her into a liar, and I feel like both times those are signs that is not a relationship she should have stayed in.
Yeah.
Agreed.
Red flag. I'm that guy, the red flag, green flag guy.
Running back and forth.
Yeah.
Where's the red flag guy? Okay. So, but then when we got to the part where the wives and like the prisoner of war and stuff, I knew one of the guys had to be alive. Because... You
mean between Jamie and Rye?
Well, even maybe her brother. No, not Jamie, because he flew off on the helicopter and his heart stopped. So
yeah, I knew Jamie was still alive. Okay, I'm telling you, because she was like, oh, they just stopped compressions. Yeah, but you didn't see him die. Maybe they stopped compressions because his heart started beating again. Like, maybe that's why they stopped. You don't continue doing CPR when somebody is alive.
Yeah. I thought for sure Jamie was dead, but I was like, her brother and Rye both got shot down in a helicopter and no remains were found. So
I thought her brother was going to come back because when the person she was talking about how a lot of people were told that no remains were found.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what she was told.
Right. And like,
so Riot should have died and Finley should have been alive.
Do you keep calling him Riot?
His name's Riot.
It's Rye.
They call him Riot. But it is, I see how it's spelled Rye right there. But like on his helmet, it says Riot.
Okay.
So she calls him that a couple of times. And so it probably just stuck with my brain.
Okay.
Hold on. Back to my thoughts about Rye. I was thinking if somebody had gone around with a video camera for their graduating class from the Navy Academy, and they're like, Finley, which guy from the graduating class would you not let date your daughter? I feel like 80% of the class would say Rye. You know how they do those videos of like football teams?
Yeah.
What team would you not let date your daughters? And then they all like say the same guy's name. All the guys would have known. But no, so when the POW wives thing came about, I thought either Finley or Rye would still be alive because both of them were shot down and no remains were found. But I thought Jamie for sure was dead.
Yeah, I wasn't expecting him to come back.
Nope, I knew it. And there was proof that I knew it because I texted that I knew it. No body, no proof of death, guys. That's how books work.
I was thinking about Rye and Jamie because in a way they were kind of both the same situation to her.
Uh-huh.
And I was like, why could she not let go of Rye and she was able to like move on from Jamie?
The sex.
The sex. But I think because Jamie was honest and was like, yeah, I'm married. Well, I mean, he wasn't honest, but like once she called him out on it, he was like, yeah, I'm married and have kids. Then she was able to like put him in a different box, but then she like trauma bonded with Rye.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
well,
it was harder for her to move on from him.
I do think the sex had a big part of it because she was a religious girl and she felt like their love was strong enough that she like made it okay.
Mm-hmm.
Like I don't think because I think even when she started sleeping with the other guy,
Henry,
she kind of was like she had like feelings about it still.
Mm-hmm.
And so because she didn't love Henry.
Yeah.
And so I think she had different like she kind of allowed herself to like opened herself up to that with Rye and she thought it was real and not be real on his side. I think that affected her more. And like you said with Jamie, she like kept him at a distance. Like he was like, yep, I'm married. And she was like, well, then I want nothing to do with you. And she said the same thing to Jamie, to Rye, which is why Rye lied to her. And so she let him in. So
do you think if because it was Ethel who told her that Jamie was married, and so like there was proof from some outside source that he was married, so he couldn't really deny it. Do you think if she had just straight up asked Jamie if he was married and it wasn't told to her, do you think he would have lied to her about it?
I like to think that Jamie would not. Because, well, Jamie was also like, well, everybody already knows that. Why are you asking me? Like, when she brought it up to
That's
him, he
true.
was like,
Yeah.
everybody knows that I'm married and have a kid. So I think he thought that she knew.
Well, that's true too, because when she was asking Rye later on, like if everybody had been laughing at her because she didn't know he was married,
Mm-hmm.
Right. All
he
of his
was like,
guys.
he's like, I didn't ever wear a wedding band, and nobody knows I'm married, and all of that stuff, and so he obviously wasn't like proud of it being married.
Yeah.
So it's just a question. But also, I think that like once she kind of told Jamie what her boundaries were, he respected that.
Mm-hmm.
And he was like, well, I still want to be friends with this person. And so he found a way to be close to her without crossing her boundaries. And I think that Rye just decided to step over her boundaries by lying about it
Right.
so that he could do this. And he like pursued her. Like
Mm-hmm.
he saw her at the party and she was like not interested. And then he saw her again and like took her out to dinner. And then, anyways, he like just kept showing up.
First night that they met at Finley's going away party, he didn't just happen to walk into the office. Like he saw her go in and then he went in.
Yeah.
So like even that wasn't accidental.
Mm-hmm.
And at that point, had he been like seeing Melissa? Because weren't they high school sweethearts or something?
Mm-hmm.
So if you like do the math, because I wasn't sure when Rye shipped out in timeline with Finley, but the child was 4 when he came back from being a POW, right?
I don't remember her age, but I do think she was like a grown child, not just a baby.
Right. So if she was in Vietnam for 2 years, most of that Rye was there for her. I mean, they graduated the same time. Rye and Finley graduated in the same class, and Finley shipped out right away.
Yeah.
So I imagine, like, so did Rye.
Like he left just right after Finley.
But he also could have done R&R before she got out there and knocked up his wife. Was she pregnant before he went to war?
He said that, well, so she got pregnant right before he left, and that's why he married her.
Right. Yeah.
Oh. So then she had to have been pregnant when he went to the party, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Because she was only a couple months in when she saw
I'm
him
trying to
for the
see
first
if I
time.
can find it. I'm trying to see if I can find where they have.
So overall, Rye was just not a good guy.
Overall, Rye is a bad guy, and she shouldn't have trusted him from the beginning.
This is my red flag. This is why the book is red.
Because it's just one giant red flag.
Oh.
I don't even think it says how old the little girl was. It just says that she was holding onto her mom's hand, and she was holding a sign.
Mm-hmm. That's a welcome home, Daddy.
Yeah. So I mean, she was old enough to hold a sign.
Yeah.
So, but I don't know how long she had been home from
Did
Vietnam.
it say when Finley left?
Like what year?
Yeah. I mean, I guess it was the beginning of the books. What's 1966, and he gets back
72 is when. Well, that's in chapter. Was 28 when he came back?
Yeah.
So it's just the chapter starts with December of 72. So 6 years.
Yeah, she's 6.
I mean, when they were on
Yeah,
the
he's
beach.
not a good guy. Bad form.
I'm glad we could determine that after our discussion. Okay, so the main storyline through this was women can be heroes. I mean, it's like the first thing when you read the little synopsis.
Mm-hmm.
How do you feel like, I don't know, that like carries through Frankie's story? I mean, obviously it was like the impact, it was like the catalyst for her going to war. But then
I think that she felt like a hero when she was in Vietnam and she was
Mhm.
like saving people. And then when she came home, she was expected to be a silent hero. But I do think that she felt like a hero and she had to get back, like learn how to continue feeling like a hero. But I also think that's why she kept going back to nursing. Was she was like, I mean, she kept saying like, this makes me feel alive. But I think it's because it made her feel important.
Yeah.
Right. Like it made her feel useful.
Mm-hmm. Like she mattered because she was helping people. And when
Yeah.
she
Well,
wasn't helping
and
people, she didn't
that's
matter.
she was going into nursing before she even joined the army, right?
Right.
Mm-hmm.
She started nursing school at 17.
So, like, that was her avenue to begin with. And so, like, going back to like how Ethel and Barb, they kind of didn't seem to have the same experience as her. And like Ethel, her whole like desire was to be a vet. So like that was her life path. Whereas like, and I think Barb probably left her life path that she had planned because her brother was killed and all these other things. Well, not he was killed being an activist, right?
Mm-hmm.
Was he killed being
So
an activist or was he just killed?
He
no,
went
he was
home and was protesting the war and then got caught up in one of the
civil
police
rights.
shootings.
I think he was in the civil rights
Oh,
movement.
one of those things. And then the police killed
Oh,
him.
he wasn't protesting the war. He was okay.
Yeah, he was fighting for rights for Black Americans. So, I mean, probably largely affected by the war just because of, like the differences in how they're treated. But, anyways. But yeah, so I think that like they each had their own life path where like Frankie kept on hers. And so like she wanted to be a nurse to begin with. And so that's why she continued being a nurse to end with. And even when she got her license revoked, like she had always planned on going back to nursing either way. But
Right. She was like she wanted to start a process to get her nursing back.
yeah. So I don't know necessarily that she felt heroic, but I mean, obviously going to war, period, takes some kind of like being heroic. What's the word? There's a word for it. Heroism. But, and I mean, like, she obviously was a hero to those boys that she saw in the hospital.
I was thinking about that. Like, all of these guys were taking pictures with her and like giving her things. And then she gets home and they're like, yeah, you don't matter. Like, what?
Yeah.
I mattered over there to
Said in her
you.
contribution was like not important.
Yeah. But
But that's only at the VA because like when
yeah.
she comes across people like in the fundraisers and stuff like that, when guys come up to her asking if her husband was in the war or whatever, and she's like, no, it was me. And they're like, whatever, like bless you or whatever they told her. Yeah. It was just at the VA where they're like, you don't matter.
Yeah.
So
I guess like she kept telling people like if you didn't see a woman, then you were in better shape than other people.
yeah.
Like if you didn't see a woman, then good.
You were a lucky one.
Yeah. I
What
guess
were we
if the
talking about?
question
Women
is
and heroes?
if the question is can women be heroes? Yes.
Okay, no, the question, I was just wondering if you felt like that theme carried like through all the way, where she felt like she was like a hero.
I don't think she felt like a hero. I think that she fought for people to understand that she was and that these women were that. I mean, at the end, we were there.
Right.
Yeah.
Like she just wanted the recognition, not necessarily like she wanted a parade in her honor, but
She just wanted
like
people to
they
stop
were,
telling her that she wasn't there.
or that her contribution didn't matter at all.
Yeah.
Or you should be ashamed for even going.
Yeah.
So.
Because I definitely, okay. So back to her like affair with Rye. I was kind of all over the place as I was writing down my thoughts at the end of this book. The end of the book was a lot. There's so much at the end of the book. But so like between her affair with Rye and then her like drug addiction, I was so sad for her when she started having like the drug problems and the affair and just lying to everybody, because I wanted like so much more for her story. I wanted her to like come home and kind of like have
Alive?
like a happier story where like kind of like a nice little bow on top of this like we can be heroes idea is what I wanted for her. But then as I was like reading it and I was like sad and I was like I wanted so much more for you. I was like that's kind of like how people feel when their loved ones are kind of going through these things, like
Yeah.
Yeah.
you know, like that's not the story I wanted for you. And so I was like, I guess in a way, like that's like the reality of things, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Well, so it was like listening to the author's whatever at the end of the book.
The note.
And she is like, she talks about how she like gleaned all of this information. And she apparently there's a book written by an army nurse who served in Vietnam where she got a lot of her information from. But I think that she wanted to make Frankie like a real person. Like this is somebody's, it could have been somebody's actual story. You know, like I don't think anybody came home from Vietnam and had a bow on top of their story.
Yeah.
Like, especially if you were a nurse, like an army nurse or whoever serving, if you were female serving in Vietnam, I 100% don't think that your story ended with a bow. Like,
Yeah.
so, or at least it maybe ended with a bow at the, you know, like, but I think you had to go through it to get there.
I think eventually Frankie gets to a place where she found a spot where she belonged and where she was still able to help these women and like um she created like a safe space for them. I think she does get to a point where her story gets a nice little bow on it, but she, like you said, like she had to go through it to get there.
Well, I also think that like she was not 100% happy with her situation, even once she had like the farm, because when they went to that memorial thing, and Ethel and Barb were talking to her about something. I don't remember what it was, but her first thought was like, I am alone. Like, so she still felt like super isolated, even though she was helping other people.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, she talks about like she's she's happy that she has the farm and that she can help these people, but it's not what she wanted. Like, she wanted kids and she wanted a husband. She wanted to be a nurse, and that's not what she was getting.
Yeah. I was super happy though, because toward the end of the book, I was like, where is Jamie? Like, he's alive. I know he's alive somewhere.
Just because he was called Jamie?
I know. That was my first thought. That was actually my first thought when I was telling you guys that he was not dead. I was like, he's not dead because his name is Jamie.
Well, it was like he came through the rocks.
He did. He is a Scotsman. And these guys do not die in war.
She's like, why is there like a Highland Scotsman in Vietnam?
Kellye, for the listeners, Kellye's obsessed with Outlander and is in love with Jamie.
I would say I'm less obsessed than I used to be.
I think you're obsessed with the first book.
I do love the first book. The second book is super hard for me. She's like, anyways, it's very emotionally like draining, the second book, but the first book for sure is a read. It's a good read. 5 stars. 10 out of 10 would recommend.
All right. Well, what would you recommend this book? What would you rate this book?
What would I recommend this book?
I mean, it was a good book. We need to like have these things printed. Like, you know how like when you play a game and they have those like cards that tell you how to play a game, and each person gets one.
You on your turn, the steps.
Yeah, we need those. We need to just print them out and like laminate. They could be our bookmarks. I don't know.
But I would give it a 3.75 because I thought it was good, but based off of our ratings, a 4 says it's definitely worth your time. And I think that it is a good book, but I think it's for somebody who like specifically enjoys these types of stories.
Yeah, like, it was a little, I mean, there was like, it was touch and go there for a while with like how emotional it got, which I think was needed for the story. I think that, and I was going to be really sad if she ended up alone because I am a romance reader. And so I was going to be real sad if like she did not get her happy ending. But I don't know. I think I would do a 4.
And I like that Jamie was able to like come home separate from her, and like I'm glad that he got to try his marriage and that like that fizzled out on its own.
Mm-hmm. Right.
And then they like reconnected later instead of like him coming home and them somehow meeting, and then even if he wasn't like Rye and he did actually leave his wife and like be with Frankie, I feel like the way that it actually happened was more like genuine. He came home, he tried to be married, he tried to have a relationship with his wife, and he decided to end that without ever knowing if he would have a relationship with Frankie. So I like that.
I like Jamie specifically. I liked that like him coming back in the end, like with her with Rye and with Henry, their love was tied to her healing, whereas with Jamie, it's not. Like, she doesn't need him to heal, if that makes sense.
Right. Yeah. Well, but he's also knew her like before too. Like he knew her.
He's also somebody who can be like, I am 100% sure that you were there. Like, I know you were there.
Yeah.
Yeah. I did think that she needed somebody who had the experience in Vietnam. I didn't think that she would be able to be married to somebody who had like avoided the draft or whatever. I don't think that one of those people would have been able to understand her experience and help her through like her flashbacks and stuff like that. I think that marriage would not have lasted.
Yeah.
So she for sure needed to like find a veteran to marry. But I was excited when finally Jamie came back because I knew that he was alive. I knew it. I thought maybe he was like going to be one of those people who got off the plane. He wasn't.
Another thing about my rating is that, like, I know Jill said that people were saying this book is not Kristin Hannah's best book, but people were like hyping up Kristin Hannah so much, but this book doesn't make me want to go read more. Like, I was like, that was fine. Like, that was a good book, but
Hannah book right here. So I'm
what is it?
Well, let us know.
The Things We Do for Love. And I do want to read her Nightingale story. I had a lot of people who saw me reading this at work, and a lot of them were like, oh my gosh, that's the best book I've read, which I work in the operating room. So I feel like maybe people were a little swayed. Like, everybody who works in the operating room probably really enjoyed that aspect of the book.
Yeah.
So I had a lot of people who were like, this book is so amazing. This is the best book I read last year. I had one person who told me, like, she came up to me while I was reading it and she was talking about it. And I was like, yeah, so many people are saying it's the best book they've read. And she was like, well, she's like, I wouldn't say it's the best. She was like, it was good. She's like, Kristin Hannah has other books that are better. So I will probably add a few of her other books to my TBR, but I think just the people that I hang around kind of swayed their rating of it, which swayed what I thought it was going to be. So,
well, so what's your rating?
I was thinking a 3.75.
3.75.
That's what I was thinking before Miranda said hers.
I feel like 3.5 is too low and 4 is too high. So
maybe hold on.
Say closer to a 4, but I really didn't. I enjoyed it, but I don't hand out 5 very easily. So
yeah,
I would say a 4, but it's not fun.
it's fun.
It wasn't a fun read. It was
an interesting read.
Yeah, it was engaging, not fun. I don't like reading about war, guys. That's not fun.
No. Let me tell you, the last 10 chapters really throw you into like the first half of the book is just people getting blown up. And then the last little bit is like a roller coaster.
I think I read through like not the first chapter, probably like chapter 3 to chapter 19. I was like reading consistently, and then I just fell off. I mean, work got busy, but I was reading other books when I was busy at work. But I was just like, okay, now we're gonna finish this. So like, I don't know, like
go ahead.
From like 19 to, I mean, 28 was a wild ride, but I don't know. The like middle of it, I was like, and we're doing this again. And
yeah. I will say though that like this is one, and granted, this whole book I listened to it on the audio because I was just trying to, anyways. But it may have been the narrator, and just that she actually put like emotion into what she was saying when she was like crying, or when like Frankie is choked up or like something. Because I don't think that I would have done that if I had been reading it. I wouldn't have done it the way she did, at least. Like, I would have read it, and then it was said, Frankie said, while holding back a sob. Like, but she was like, like when she's talking. Oh, what happened to my thing?
Did you buy like the audiobook, or did you use that link that I sent you?
No, I bought the audiobook. I don't think I even tried the link.
So the link that I listened to whenever Frankie was like yelling or like upset about, like she would yell people's names or whatever, it sounded like she lost her voice. it was
Was it the same narrator or was it someone just reading?
I don't know. I don't know. But she'd be reading, she'd have a normal voice, and then whatever Frankie was supposed to say, she would yell. And so she would be like, right. and it would always be like, right. Frankie yelled, come back. Like, why are you doing your voice like that?
It's one of the only books that has made me like cry though. But it could have been the narration more than
I cried, and I had terrible narration.
I didn't cry. I didn't cry, but I teared up like anytime her friends would come, like Barb and Ethel, and they were like getting emotional.
Up when her dad was at the wall with her.
Yeah.
I cried then.
When he like finally acknowledged that she had made a contribution after he saw that guy like thank her.
Mm-hmm.
Then he was like, okay, I guess you went to Vietnam.
Okay, you're a hero.
And I'm also glad that she wasn't just like jumps right back into like whatever father-daughter relationship they had before. Like she didn't make him feel better because I think she even said that. She was like, I think he expected me to like absolve him, and she didn't do that. And so I was like, good for you. He was part of the problem. So anyways,
right.
so yeah. Next month.
What are we doing next?
Next month, we're reading What the River Knows by Isabel Ibanez. Bolivian Argentinian Inez Oliveira belongs to the glittering upper society of 19th century Buenos Aires, and like the rest of the world, the town is steeped in old world magic that's been largely left behind or forgotten. Inez has everything a girl might want, except for the one thing she yearns for the most, her globe-trotting parents who frequently leave her behind. When she receives word of their tragic deaths, Inez inherits their massive fortune and a mysterious guardian, an archaeologist in partnership with his Egyptian brother-in-law. Yearning for answers, Inez sails to Cairo. Thank you. Inez sails to Cairo, bringing her sketch pads and a golden ring her father sent to her for safekeeping before he died. But upon her arrival, the old world magic tethered to the ring pulls her down a path where she discovers there's more to her parents' disappearance than what her guardian led her to believe. With her guardian's infuriatingly handsome assistant thwarting her at every turn, Inez must rely on ancient magic to uncover the truth about her parents' disappearance, or risk becoming a pawn in a larger game that will kill her. The Mummy meets Death on the Nile in this lush, immersive historical fantasy filled with adventure, arrivals to lovers' romance, and shocking twists and turns.
Ooh, a romance thriller.
I feel like we read another book with an infuriatingly handsome person.
Jill mentioned that, and I don't remember that in the... Were you reading a different book?
I've just screenshotted the summary you just read.
Oh, I thought you were showing us something from the women.
No.
And I kept wondering, I was like, there's no infuriating handsome assistant.
I screenshotted that. And
okay.
The book was about, and I was like, man, I just hate it when those infuriatingly handsome support my plans.
Of course, it has to have an infuriatingly handsome person in here. He probably looks like a football player. What's his name?
I'm gonna find somebody to describe. You're just so infuriatingly handsome.
I mean, I feel like you should probably say that to your husband, but just like if you're going to say it to anybody, you shouldn't tell other men that they're infuriatingly handsome.
She just to some guy.
You don't want to be Rye over here.
As long as she's still wearing her wedding band, it's fine. She's not Rye.
I actually don't ever wear my wedding ring.
Okay, she's Rye. Who wears a wedding ring? Like, what the heck?
I wear mine occasionally, but I work in a job where I can get degloved, so
I guess.
My wedding ring is not considered sterile, so I can't wear it at work either.
Maybe you should get a silicone one.
No, I can't have anything on my hands.
Oh. Well, my job, I can wear whatever I want, so
that's so cool.
There's that. Okay, are we done? Is that it? Is that all?
That's it.
That's all she wrote?
Thanks for joining us for another month.
Okay, bye.
Bye.
Hey guys, thanks so much for tuning in to this episode. Don't forget to subscribe and then follow us on whatever social media platform you use the most. The link for next month's book is going to be down in the description below, so grab your copy and then make sure to share all your thoughts with us.